Lincoln's Inn is at the heart of legal London. Located near the Royal Courts of Justice, Lincoln's Inn is one of 4 Inns of Court, societies to which all of England's barristers must belong. It's a tranquil, almost antiquated area that's surrounded by leafy London plane trees. In 1586, Lord Anthony Babington was convicted of plotting the murder of Elizabeth I. He and his fellow conspirators were hanged, drawn and quartered at Lincoln's Inn. Babington, it is recorded, was apparently still conscious after he was hanged and while he was being quartered. His screams were so loud and shocking that Queen Elizabeth asked for the fellow traitors to be disposed of more quickly. On the 21st of July, 1683, Lord William Russell was found guilty of planning the murder of Charles II and executed at Lincoln's Inn. Russell said, on his way to the block, that decapitation would be less painful than drawing a tooth. However, his axeman was the legendary and incompetent Jack Ketch, who took 3 butcherly strokes to remove Russell's head, subsequently claiming that his lordship moved. Shadowy figures are said to haunt the grounds of Lincoln's Inn Fields, and disturbing screams are said to shatter the stillness in the dead of night. During the 18th century, Robert Percival, an aristocratic cousin of Prime Minister Spencer Percival, studied law at Lincoln's Inn. However, studious was not a word to describe Robert. He preferred to neglect his studies for more self-indulgent pursuits, and quickly became known for his entirely immoral and debauched lifestyle, including riotous and unprofitable pursuits. One rare night, deciding to take a day off from his usual nocturnal antics, he spent an evening studying in his chamber at Lincoln's Inn. It was approaching midnight, and Percival felt a strange, ominous feeling that he was not alone. The clock struck midnight, startling Percival, and looking up from his studies, he saw a sinister, cloaked figure had appeared in his room. He demanded to know who he was, but the figure was deadly silent. In a blind panic, he quickly lurched at it with his sword, which passed right through. Percival dropped his sword, and at the same time the figure began to reveal itself to be an identical figure of Robert Percival. However, his face and chest were obliterated by terrible wounds. He stood and stared as the mysterious figure began to fade from the scene. Percival took this distressed doppelganger to be a warning to mend his ways. Resolute, he decided to focus on his studies, and Percival became a reformed character, at least for a while. He soon tired of this sensible way of life and slipped back into his old ways, ensuring he made up for lost time. He rapidly found himself with significant gambling debts. One morning, Percival's corpse was discovered on the Strand. He had been murdered with his own sword by former friends he had cheated. His corpse bore the horrific injuries his spectre had. Percival's room at Lincoln's Inn is said to be haunted, though whether it is by the ghost of the dead man or the failed warning, still returning, nobody knows. Just off Covent Garden lies King's Street, a handsome street dating back to 1633. One of the houses located here has a reputation as being haunted. During the 17th century, Lord Mohun, a gallant young man and son of a wealthy politician, had quarrelled with Prince Griffin, who was thought to be an aristocrat from abroad. Subsequently, it was arranged for a duel to be fought in Chelsea Fields, with swords, on horseback. As he journeyed to this rendezvous, Mohun was set upon by a group of men who attacked him and shot him dead. Some say this incident had been arranged by the scheming Prince Griffin, as he'd discovered that Mohun was a better horseman than himself. The brutal murder occurred at 10 o'clock in the morning, and on the same day, at the exact same time, a resident of King Street, described as a handsome but common lady friend, saw the figure of her beloved young Mohun at her bedside. He drew the curtains, filling the room with daylight, and then suddenly disappeared. She quickly called out to her maid to ask if she had seen the apparition, but she hadn't. The door of the room was in fact locked, and the maid still had the key in her pocket. Could this be a message from the afterlife? Located in Fitzrovia is the University College Hospital. Today, UCH is a world-renowned teaching and medical research hospital. Despite being the centre of scientific research, the hospital is said to be haunted by a former nurse, seen by staff and patients, thankfully quite rarely. Lizzie Church was a young, enthusiastic nurse who came to work at the hospital at the beginning of the 20th century. A caring and good-hearted lady who wanted to help the sick and improve people's lives. During one shift, she attended to a patient who was in considerable pain. Deciding a strong painkiller was the best solution, she did what any nurse of the day would have done and decided to administer morphine. Sadly, Lizzie made a mistake. She gave her patient a little too much of the painkiller. Within minutes, her patient died of an overdose. According to legend, Lizzie was distraught. So affected was she that Lizzie hung herself in the hospital stairwell. A tragic end to the life and career of a young nurse who had tried her best to help. Lizzie Church, it seems, hasn't left the hospital. At the end of their stay, as they are being sent home from hospital, patients have reported being cared for by a kindly young nurse. She also appears to staff when morphine injections are being administered, perhaps keeping a watchful eye or warning staff not to make the same error. They have also commented that whoever this person is wearing a bluish-grey uniform from a bygone era. It's only later they are informed that the caring young nurse is a ghost.